Igen.
Jó, akkor Gabi kezdheti.
Yes. Dear all, I would like to greet you on behalf of the National Fashion League Hungary Association, the founder and also the organizer of the Global Sustainable Fashion Week. As you see, we organize now a digital version of our Global Sustainable Fashion Week. We wanted to organize our 5th edition in this year, and we made a lot of preparation to involve very excellent lecturers, designers from all over the world. Unfortunately, due to the coronavirus problem, we had to decide to reorganize our program. We do not want to miss all the good lectures what our lecturers have already prepared, and that's why we invite them to send either in form of a video or to enjoy this version, to see the video presentations, or we invited them to join our live conference. Yesterday, we had the session of the video conference, and we really had a very good success. I got a lot of positive answers. Just now, I would like to open the live conference and welcome to our digital 5th Global Sustainable Fashion Week. I wanted to invite a very nice person, Isabelle Bigot, yes, because this year France was our honored country. Every year we have a special country of honor or continent. Why France? I think that France made a lot of efforts to be more sustainable in the fashion. And Macron invited carrying representative to call all the big companies in the fashion industry and to think over how can they promote the earth. And this is a very, very important message. And we have just now the Fashion Pact, and about the Fashion Pact, Isabelle would like to give a message for you. We try to connect now the message of Isabelle.
In France, speaking about sustainable fashion means speaking about the Fashion Pact that has completely changed the story. All began in April last year when French President Emmanuel Macron gave a mission to François-Henri Pinault, Chairman and CEO of Kering. The mission was to bring together the leading players in fashion and textile, which means groups, brands, suppliers, retailers, and all actors already involved in environmental strategies in all areas: luxury, fashion, sports, and lifestyle. The aim of the group was to set practical objectives focusing to reduce the environmental impact of the industry. At the beginning, there was a coalition of 32 leading companies. All participants prepared and signed a fashion pact, including a set of shared objectives, in order to present it to heads of state at the J7 meeting last hour. Then, in October, 24 new groups joined the coalition, which represents today 250 brands. In next September, all participants will share the advances of their action. How have been defined the commitments of the Fashion Pact? The objectives are drawn on the Science-Based Targets Initiative, which has been implemented by the United Nations, WWF, World Resource Institute, and the CDP, which was formerly Carbon Disclosure Project. It aims to help companies to match their objectives for reducing greenhouse gas emissions with the data provided by climate science. The commitments of the Fashion Pact focuses action in three essential areas. At first, it aims to stop global warming, zero greenhouse gas emission by 2050, in order to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is the pathway between now and the next century. Secondly, it wishes to restore biodiversity by achieving the objectives that are recommended by science-based targets to restore natural ecosystems and protect species. Thirdly, it will work to protect the oceans by taking practical initiatives such as gradually removing the use of single-use plastic. The Fashion Pact opens to a new era for several reasons. Its power, because it involves 250 brands, which represents 20% of the global fashion industry, as measured by volume of products. The diversity of the brands committed will help for more efficiency through multi-sectorial actions. Efforts required from the brand are concrete. They are visionary and achievable. They are quantified and based on science. The Fashion Pact will draw on existing initiatives such as Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Apparel Impact Institute, CNA Foundation, Fair Fashion Center, Fashion for Good, Sustainable Apparel Coalition, Textile Exchange, UN International Labour Organization, Better Work, ZDHC. The philosophy of the Fashion Pact, which will create an overarching framework and acts as a one planet lab. These initiatives are designed to be collaborative across the fashion sector as well as with other industrial sectors. As a conclusion, my personal feeling is that there is a current and perceptible change in the ways brands act and also communicate. The creation of the Fashion Pact has formalized things to make them more official. Now it's considered as a very serious matter by all groups and brands. It has contributed to raise awareness, and it has also revealed that some brands were sustainable without communicating on it. I have noticed that today there is no gap between sustainable brands and style. They are more and more stylish. And on the other hand, luxury brands are more and more communicating about their sustainable commitments. Isabelle Brigou in Paris for the Global Sustainable Fashion Week.
Köszönjük, én úgy gondolom, hogy Isabel, I think that Isabel has already made a very good summarizing about the Fashion Pact. Just now I would like to give the floor Mr. Keresnyei, who is president of the, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Keresnyei, who is president of the creative, industrial, and also cultural cluster, and he will be our moderator. He's a profi in the Zoom, so he can give you also some technical advices as well. Thank you.
If it's necessary.
Yes, if it's necessary. Thank you for your support, János.
Thank you very much. It is an honor to be a host of this meeting. Actually, I'm just a technical host. Anyway, we are very proud of the National Fashion League being our cluster member, because we believe in the creative industry cluster that the sustainability is one of the most important issues in the world. Even we have this coronavirus hassle, but everyone knows there is some connection with sustainability and this present situation in the world. So let me allude just being a technical host of you, and I try to manage the conference a little bit at the morning, and I will call those who will have some speech or presentations. And during all the time, I just would like to ask everyone to mute themselves. I can mute everyone. So no, I mute all. okay, if you forgive me, but there is a chance to talk with that easily if you push the space bar on your computer. Then you can talk and you can unmute yourself temporarily, and you can unmute yourself if you click to the small microphone icon on the corner of your screen. But of course, Monica, who will be a speaker, first speaker, then after Lukács Ákos, you will be unmuted. And I can mute and unmute everyone. That's for safety and for the best presentations. And if you have any technical questions, just raise it, and it's no problem. Otherwise, you are able to raise your hand. If you go to the lower menu of the Zoom window, and there is a participants, and when you click on it, then the side window, you can see the list of participants, which is very useful for many reasons. One of that, you can raise your hand, and then we can see if everyone would like to contribute, then we can see your hand raised. Secondly, you are able to send personal messages for those participants who you just click on. I hope it is enough for first, and it is really exciting to have a meeting with 30 participants in this second. We are in 30 participants, but I think we will be more. And let me invite to the screen Mr. Ákos Lukács, who is the Senior Management, Environment, Sustainability, Climate Change at Deloitte, Hungary.
Thank you very much, János. Thank you very much, Gabriela. I would like to greet everybody. I hope you hear me well. That's great. I think the presentation that we heard, the short speech, was very reinforcing that sustainability and climate change is actually back on the agenda still in this year, and also in the fashion industry, because these things are at risk at this moment, for sure. A quick introduction, perhaps, about Deloitte Hungary and myself. I used to be involved in the Paris Agreement in the past for the Hungarian government, and in Deloitte I'm leading a so-called sustainability and climate change practice, where we are serving clients here locally and also worldwide on such issues like sustainability, reporting, assurance, energy audits. We are looking at materials in the energy and resources sector, and we are also covering climate risk assessments of different infrastructures and different biological domains. So this is not really the auditor firm, that the part that we are leading. So we are very interested in how the fashion industry is going to change and respond to this current crisis. Deloitte had a very interesting study in the past, from which I would like to say a couple of words. What were sustainability achievements in 2019, which are to be challenged in my second part of my speech. We had a study that is so-called global powers of luxury goods, and there we saw a big change of the different companies around the world. There were the following best practices coming forward in the industry, either by the brands themselves or either by the civil society pushing them to this direction. So the ethics and moral values of the consumers didn't change much. So therefore, every practice that was improving the labor practices, production practices, animal welfare, and positive impact on the communities was a big achievement by the brands. They stopped destroying finished products and extended their practice in recycling, repairing, and also donating the unsellable products, which was not the case. If you recall, there were brands burning their unused clothes in the past. The increasing share of raw materials from renewable sources was there to be introduced to improve sustainability. Different code of ethics were established for the supply chain, for the consumers, and also sustainability teams have been established in such brands. We were also able to see this as a trend in Hungary, where such companies haven't yet had such sustainability teams dedicated for this purpose. These brands also created foundations by which they started to combat different issues like violence against women. Also, they awarded firms and projects that were there for safety and reducing pollution. And also new industry standards were established among these brands so that the chemicals that they use in the procedures that will be improved for the product safety and for the consumers. Of course, there were also other philanthropic directions. Everybody became socially more conscious because environment is much on the agenda, but the society part of sustainability was something trending just before the COVID-19 virus. And I must say that what we see that this is moving forward, and society is really getting the benefit of these brands and firms as well, and also the sustainability. So other practices maybe to mention still, the responsible sourcing of materials, metals, diamonds, different examples can be drawn from responsible mining companies, but also something new to be introduced in 2018, 2019. Of course, zero tolerance policies were also there for certain countries where human rights are not kept, and also these social and environmental commitments of the brands were becoming more transparent. So it was not only companies doing their own work, but they were also contributing and committing to such objectives publicly, and they were starting to understand that they have to track this transparently, and they have to be kept reliable for their objectives. So I think coming to this current situation where we have this COVID-19 situation around the world, different sectors are losing more or less, and some of them much more than expected, and others are winning. Of course, this is the balance. But what we see is that mainly the sustainability has like four main parts, and environment is now winning in some part because there are less pollutions, there are less use of fossil fuels, there is a big decline in certain pollutant materials. This is, I think, the majority of the winning part of environment. But also there are risks, how plastic is coming up to use, and single-use materials for the safety of the people is, of course, growing. Beyond that, society is losing a bit because this is this economical setup that we had globally. It was not that sustainable, and therefore society, economy, and partly governance of these companies is disrupted. As you can see, this is not the plan B and plan C situation for these companies, but a complete change of how they were governed, how people work in their daily life, and this is impacting the companies as a transformation project. So priorities have changed. What we hope, and we see signs of these markets, that sustainability is not lost, and there is a challenge how to keep it alive and running. And consumers, the new generation, didn't change perceptions just because of the crisis. So that would lead companies keeping their commitments, even if they have to come up with new business models. We think that it's important to go for not only safety, but sustainability first. What it means. If the world is going to come back to a more sustainable economy path, it will not only be important to keep and find out the safety that is necessary for the people not to have the same crisis again, but that new growth has to be sustainable and in line with these commitments. Unfortunately, this didn't happen in 2008 and 2009. So there is a big risk that this is also not going to happen entirely in this case as well. Giving back to the society, I think we saw great examples of the fashion industry, that it be producing masks or starting producing disinfectants, and I think this is really part of sustainability and part of how first firms reacted to the society. So this is a daily changing exercise we see, and I think we will see other best practices as commitments. So I would like to thank you for this short speech and time. I hope I could give you some insights, and we look forward to listen to the other presenters and speakers today.
Thank you very much for your kind contribution. I just would like to say we are able to clap in this way, anyone, but if you would like to emphasize, express your emotions, then if you go to the lower part of the menu, you can see the reactions. So you can clap with golden hands, and also you can give thumbs ups. That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your valuable contribution. And our next speaker is Dr. Monika Zabel, who I unmute immediately. She is a curator, speaker, and award-winning designer and economist, founder of Urban Pilgrimage Design. Her topic is the role of designers and artists in times of environmental crisis. But I think she will talk much more about this topic, and she will share her screen with the lower menu. So first, please open your presentation. I suppose you open that, and the share screen down.
Yeah, it's open. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hello.
Comes soon. We have rehearsed that, so I'm sure it will be okay.
It is already there, and now I have to share the screen. Good work now.
Please talk a little bit
Okay.
louder.
Yeah. So,
Could you talk a little bit louder?
yes. Hello.
But it's still not enough.
Lower or higher?
Actually, it was much better without your headphone.
It is my headphone. The headphone is on. So this is the.
But we no. Okay, your presentation starts. Okay, please push the play button at the right bottom, right down.
Right down.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right down. It's a little bit right. Yes, you remember there it says right down. I just would like to say that it's a really
I have only
new experience to everyone.
No. It's in the upper, not in the lower here.
Okay, but we can't hear you very well.
Okay.
It was earlier. It was much better without you. Maybe you can use it.
Like this was better.
Perfect. Yes, everyone can hear you very
Okay,
well.
fine. Then I cannot hear you very well, so I have to adapt this a little bit. Just a sec.
But it's important that you should talk.
Yes, true. Okay, now it's.
You can play your presentation with the play button.
Yes, but I don't see the play
It
button.
is right side down. Or go to the slideshow menu, and then you can play as well.
So this is the first here. This is what you mean with play?
No.
The lower row, right side, there is the button.
Yes. Here, this one?
That's right. Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Perfect. I just would like to say, everyone, if you go to the upper part of the screen, you can see you are viewing Monika Zabel's screen, and there is a view options. And if you click side-by-side mode, then you can see the speaker as well. Okay, I'm muted. The floor is to Monika Zabel.
Yeah, good morning. Welcome to all. Happy to be here with you, even virtually. Yeah, better than better than being socially and intellectually distanced completely. So we had the pleasure yesterday already. That was a very big success, I think. It worked, and it gives, on top of the content, it gives a good feeling of being together. And I think this is very important in the current times, to feel the togetherness, even if you don't share the physical space. I think my theme of today is very pertinent. You just have to put environmental in brackets, and then you have the role of designers and artists in times of crisis. And this is the times we are, but we have been in times of environmental crisis quite some time ago. It was not so visible and tactile to all of us, because many things happened in the distance, in foreign countries, in different continents and spheres. I would like to talk about the art sector and how we can, as artists and designers, engage with this sector. And one of the, let's say, big events last year, 2019, was that two of the main art events, exhibitions, not fairs, exhibitions in Europe, the Art Biennale in Venice, which is world famous, and also the Triennale di Milano, were thematically directed to environmental crisis and climate change. And more specifically, the Art Biennale put as a motto, living in times of crisis, uncertainty and turmoil. And Broken Nature in Milan, or Triennale di Milano, said Broken Nature design takes on human survival. So here is already pronounced the role designers and artists have in these times of crisis and of changes. Because one thing is very clear: without change, the world cannot continue as it did in the past. So there was a coincidence, the Acqua Alta, that is a phenomenon of high rise or high tide of the water inside Venice, leading to some floods, which is happening in a kind of more modest way every year. But in 2019, it had reached a record height of 1.87 meters. So you can quickly imagine your own height, and then you see whether you were standing below the water or above the water still. So only very few of us, I would assume, were really would have opportunity to breathe if they would have to stand on the ground. And so it reached a record height, and also an uncommon, unusual length, and the length of the Acqua Alta, because it came back and again and again, and it was rising still in November to 1.65 meters, 1.70 meters, which was very, very uncommon. And that happened to the time of the Biennale, that when the tide was high, up to 85% of the city of Venice were flooded. So many visitors of the Biennale could eyewitness of this emergency. That was an, let's say, coincidence that the crisis that was, indicated in the motto of Biennale happened in the city of Venice, in front of the eyes of the visitors. So I just would like to run you through two projects that were selected to exhibit at the Biennale. And we were nominated by the curators on whether and how we were addressing, or the artists were addressing, the subject of environmental crisis and the impacts of climate change on nature. So we have two works. We have one work that is my own work that was exhibited at Venice Design, and the other work of a young Swiss visual artist that was shown at Personal Structures. So both are addressing the element of water, and therefore I have paired them, giving you some examples how the impacts on the element water can be addressed. And so this is my own work. I called it Ode to the Ocean, Water, Fishes, Fashion, and to show the impact of the mass and fast fashion industry on all elements, but specifically on the element of water. And the Venice design took place in the Palazzo Michele in Venice. And the Venice design had a kind of manifesto. Designers in or across different disciplines shall become agents of change, and conceiving and producing our forthcoming living spheres through conscious designs, innovative objects, and experimental installations. So there were about 60 positions in the Palazzo Michele, different positions, and maybe there were 5 taking the medium textile as a mode of expression. So it was not particularly on fashion or on textile, it was on innovative design in general. And why the work? I think most of us who are attending the conference are insiders. So why the work? Due to the UN statistics, as much as 40% of the ocean is heavily affected by pollution, depleted fisheries, loss of coastal habitats, and by other human activities. And there is one more, there is the bleaching and the starving of the coral reefs, which are like the tropical rainforest underwater. And that is the coral reefs in particular, that is the work of the Swiss designer, whom I will show you afterwards. Then, I mean, the fashion industry has become one of the major contributors to global pollution of water, air, and soil. And it is a very minimal, currently, a very minimal percentage of clothing that is currently recycled. The remaining 95% are incinerated or buried in landfills, even if now new initiatives are coming up, etc. But the impact on what has been done in the past is already there. And then, of course, demand of clothing items has doubled, and the utilization per day or per times is decreasing. And this is certainly something the consumer has in her or his hand to change attitude on this. And by 2050, research says that there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish, and this is a pretty dramatic view in the future. So the work, the installation I produced for Venice was what is called a site-specific installation. It was made for Venice, and I started after I was nominated on the scratch with working on this installation. And it was produced for Venice Design, as I mentioned, and that ran 6.5 months from May to November 2019. And just to talk a little bit about the sourcing of the materials I was working with, it is all pre- and post-consumer waste, like end of roll, samples, discontinued material, gifted and thrifted fabrics, and in one sentence, working with the existing and working with the existing resources. So not to tap on new resources because we have still, I believe, enough existing resources we can work with. And the materials that have been used for the installation are natural fabrics. It's partly even woven and printed in Germany. And that indicates already that printing process, etc., is certified and the water is recycled, etc., etc. Shells are used, found objects, and a wooden boat. That was the most tricky to get. I had to get across the border, I have to say. I had 3 boats donated in Switzerland and Germany, but the cost of bringing them across the border was so extraordinary that I thought this is financially not sustainable for me. So finally I rented in Venice a boat for the duration of the exhibition. So the design approach I use is zero waste, almost, redesigned, repurposed, and I have also used, for example, high-end materials from interior design purposes. And these are very good, beautiful materials, and sometimes in better quality that you would find them for fashion. And the production process was in Germany, and then I hand carried only the pieces on my own to Venice, and the mannequins and the ship were already waiting for me. And there, and then the timeline, the work was commissioned in November 2018. The work was starting to take shape 2019, and work starting to take shape, I have to say that there was of course an agreement, and that was the base for, as I meant, selection of the work, that I work sustainably, that I fulfill conscious practices, etc. But how the work would look like, that was not so clear in November. But it became clear, and it became clear to me that I wanted to do something site-specific, so related to Venice. And my hometown is Hamburg, also a water city, and so that it's Venice, that is water, and that impact of climate change, for example, aqualta, would be topics that was clear. But I was not the only work. As I said, there were 59 others, or 58, and I had to discuss with the curators about the space and the hanging options, etc. Because in the palazzo there is stuck from ancient centuries that should not be destroyed, so you can't pin in the ceiling, etc. So this was my first take on it. It was a first collage, a kind of mood book, and this is, I mean, it's just an idea, but you see already that that there are beings in a boat. I mean, a little bit the Ark in Noah, the Noah's Ark idea. They are wearing colorful clothing, and they are either they have fish heads or they already have a fish. That was not so clear, but so that was the first take. And then I felt, maybe for the first or second time in my life, how our museum is organized like a very professional entity. It's very different to a gallery. I mean, a gallery is also professional, but the resources this museum has was quite incredible. So everything you needed was there, but there was a very tough timeline. And the photo shooting for they wanted to have the photos for the catalog end of March. And you can imagine I was starting producing in February. So it was far from being ready when the photo shooting had to take place. And so this is what we did. this is not, let's say, how it was assembled finally in Venice, but the pieces you see, they were all shown in the installation. And so I thought the background of the River Elbe and a little bit of the harbor would add very beautifully to the installation. And what you can't see is that it was a super windy day, but it was already the third attempt to take photos, and the first two, it was raining and it was just miserable, so you couldn't take any photos. So that was the third attempt. I was freezing like hell because I had only this little one piecer here and the cape, and if I would not have had fixed the fish would have been within 2 seconds in the River Elbe and swimming away. Yeah? So that was the catalog photography. Of course, we had to show 4 different photos. This is another option if you want to see a bit more of the work. And then we took opportunity, of course, to do some fashion photography alongside. I mean, more typical fashion photography. And this is what I see when I look out of my window. This is the new opera house in Hamburg. You might have seen it, the Elbphilharmonie or Elfi called, and we were just on a public boat passing by, and I had a fantastic photographer, I can say, who really, he's not typically in fashion, but he has a very good eye. I'm very grateful. So then there was the final positioning of the work. That was end of April 2019, and the vernissage at Palazzo Michel took place on the 8th and 9th of May. And this is the installation as it hangs in the Palazzo. And I had to adapt from my, let's say, original idea that the whole floor would be with shells and all, yeah, and all the mannequins would be on a boat, or hanging even. Some were supposed to hang, but it was really hanging, not hanging, standing. I mean, there was a long process. Fortunately, you can't see it, and the guests, the visitors couldn't see, but it was difficult. And the fishes, now they are hanging because they are very light, they are ultra light, and we could fix them on a lighting system. Otherwise, it would not have possible because it is a kind of protected monument, this palazzo, and you can't screw anything in the ceiling. So this is, and here you see it, what we made out of it. This is my rented half boat. And so we put the shells on top because it was not possible to put them on the floor, as people could have stepped in it or thrown with it or whatever. So at the end it came out very nicely, I think, and the direction, they are looking in the direction to the Canale Grande, which was about, let's say, 3 meters to the window, to the balcony at the Canale Grande. Yeah, and then this is another perspective. And you see here is also a fish. So not all the fishes managed to fly. Some have, how to say, flexibly changed their position to become a handbag. So this is a very cute handbag. It's fully functional, but I fix it so that people are not touching it because it's an open space where the visitors are passing. And apropos visitors, the Venice Design had about 175,000 visitors in 6 months. So this is, if you want to do advocacy, it is a very good place to reach a lot of people, even physically.
Monica, please try to keep your time limit.
Yeah, how many minutes is it?
You are about 20 minutes instead of 10.
Oh, no.
So please, a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Then we can here. I just want to show you then the 13th November, the Aqua Alta broke through. And this is how it looks like. If you see here, this is a bridge. And the bridge was high enough for the Vaporetto to pass under normal circumstances. But the high water had really, put this large boat in a position where it can't move anymore. And that was at night. And then that was the next morning when the water was a little bit down. Suitably, it was the Biennale Arte. It was even promotion for the Biennale, what happened. And this I also wanted to show you. And I think it was the colleague from Deloitte who said that the consumers have to change attitude. And here we have this segment of consumers who hasn't, where the point of return has not reached. They are very, very happy that they have been very much consuming at Louis Vuitton, even swimming or walking in the water. I think it's a wonderful photo in a way, very sad, but yes. Okay, this is then the closing matinee, and most of the people were wearing rubber boots because the water was so high, and to get from one palazzo to the other was just possible with high rubber boots. But still it was full and it was very well received. It was beautiful. And so I was presenting a few words with this fish head on. And yeah, I think it was the most photographed individual due to the fish head. So that's good. I mean, you can really get close to people by doing something a bit different. And this is then still high water at the Palazzo just before removing the installation, because it was the last day of the installation. So that was, oops, that was this. And then I quickly would like to show you the other work, which is, oops, see you later, zoomconference3April. And zoomconference3April is just a kind of algae that builds symbiotic relation with corals. And it's photographic work of Claudia Schildknecht, I mentioned already. And the work is about bleaching of coral reefs, in particular the Great Barrier Reef, Australia, where she did the research and where she did all the photography. So, and this is, the barrier reef is far away, and what bleaching of algae is, we might not know, but after seeing her work, you will know. This is not part of the work, it's just a research photo. This is how a coral reef looks like typically. So you have the fishes inside, you have population, you have moving objects, and it is a little bit darkish because the algae are together with the coral. So we have a why this work as well. We have rising water temperatures affect even marginal rising.
Sorry, please speed up a little
Last
bit.
warning, please. It is
Yes, I do. Promise.
Sorry.
So 50% of our reefs have already died, and by the middle of this century, it is expected that only 10% will survive, and the Great Barrier Reef is currently bleaching. So first it was bleaching in the northern part, but now it starts also in the southern part. So here you have the southern part, and it looks still beautiful. This is, I really wanted to show you. It looks beautiful, but you have already the yellow, it's the bleaching of soft corals, and the white spots here, it's the beginning of bleaching of hard corals. Here is another one. It looks beautiful, but you see clear symptoms of bleaching where never before there has been bleaching in the southern part. And this is from the north, and in the north already 70% of the corals have died. And it still looks good. It looks aesthetic in a way. And this is the end. Here we have dead corals. There will never be a coral reef again. It is just scrambles, and it's pretty shattered. So this is Claudia's work. So we have an important role as change agents, and through the art world, there is an opportunity to reach people who are not just consumers of fashion, and therefore very important as well. And oops, thank you.
Thank you very much, and sorry for urging you. I think if you want, you can share your presentation on the chat.
Okay.
And everyone can download it. So if you put your file to the chat, then everyone can download you. And I unmute everyone to have a clap. Thank you very much. I just kindly would like to...
Jó, egyébként igen.
Okay.
Akkor addig gyorsan használjuk ki.
What are you doing?
Speaking.
Speaking.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Monica. And wanted to organize some side events outside Budapest as well. And our plan was that we took Monica's wonderful pieces in the modern contemporary art museum and centrum in Debrecen. So City Debrecen wanted to join us, also Pécs, the beautiful city of Mr. Keresnyei too, but unfortunately we didn't manage to arrange such kind of programs. I would like to call now Rossana Diana. Many of us know her very well because she used to be our designer, our lecturer in the past Global Sustainable Fashion Weeks. Rossana is, I can tell you, maybe she's a pioneer of the waist couture in Italy, and she gives a very good practice how to call the designers to think in another way. To think in another way, I think yesterday we had 3 very good interviews and message of Dr. Erwin, Professor László, and Rossana told us that her life has been changed because of the book of Erwin László, and I am very proud of the fact that we invited Professor László Erwin in our circle, and she accepted this invitation, and this was also the initiative of Rossana Diana. Please, Rossana, join us.
Ciao. Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. So my name is Rossana Diana, and I am a fashion designer, leading since 2009 an association working to implement circular economy for fashion. So first of all, I would like to thank Gabi for organizing us this one online version of the Global Sustainable Fashion Week, this stay-at-home version. In this time of changement that we are globally living, of course, this gives me the opportunity to share with a lot of different people my work. So now I'm gonna share my presentation. Here we have. Make a big screen.
That's okay.
So, yes, he went just.
But I think this is the last one, yeah.
Yes, he went to the final. I don't know why. Anyway. Ecco, here we are. Here you see me with Vivian Westwood, because I spent many years working with Vivian Andreas, and this surely contributed to the formation of my view to create a circular production system in the fashion industry. So with this presentation, I will show you how today it's possible to make a product without producing anything. Make a product without producing anything is not only possible, but it's necessary. And it can be done by using the most common byproduct of our time, waste. Like Gabby said, another fact really changed my point of view in 2006, because I read this House Point written by Erwin Laszlo. We had the pleasure to have him this morning because he's a guest of this edition of the Global Sustainable Fashion Week. He's an Hungarian philosopher and feminist, and he was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for 2 times, and he has received the Gold Award in 2001 and the Mandela of Peace Prize in 2005. So reading the House Point book has made me understand the importance of individual action and the real meaning of environmental sustainability. Change is possible if every one of us moves in the direction of change, because as living beings, we are part of a larger picture, that the universe, because we are universe. So this new vision has changed me completely, has changed my life, my work, my behavior, my relationship. Everything changed. This vision needed a name and a leader, a guide, a journey that I knew wouldn't have been easy, and a project that wanted to be participatory, an example of the we economy. That's how in 2009, the character Venette Waste was born. Let me introduce you to the queen of waste, which is Venette Waste. And you know why she is the queen of waste? Because she knows how to transform waste into value. Venette was created from an idea by me and by a talented illustrator, Irene Bassi. I really need a comic as our leader, because I thought immediately that the first action to do was a little bit take a distance by my ego. And then it would have been easier to communicate the idea of an horizontal organization where everybody would have been able to contribute to the fashion industry in a regenerative way from the same platform. If our guru would have been a comic, everyone would have been able to relate it to her. Moreover, for a comic, it's easier to have superpowers, like a superhero. So Venette Waste is a superhero, but a European one that gives us back our common sense. Here we see her in illustration, different illustration, because we decided Venette would have her own story to tell, her life. And so we even drew it. She was born in 1966. And here you can see her in some different periods of her life, with her parents when she was a child, in her adulthood, and with her son, Eddie. Here we see Horus. Horus is a friend of Venette and drove Venette close to nature again. Like every hero, Venette acquired her superpower during a special occasion that changed her life by transforming her in the queen of waste. During a business trip to Egypt, while visiting the Edfu temple, she met Horus, the hawk. Horus was just a black crow, but then he tried to attack her, but when they touched, they both transformed, and she became the queen of waste, and he became a hawk that she named Horus. From that moment on, they became inseparable, and they marked the beginning of a new journey. So Venette achieving awareness. Horus brought Venet back to nature and will always be her spiritual guide. From that moment, Venet will never return what she was before, and now she knows what she needs to do, visualize an example of a regenerative fashion system. This is Venet Waste statement. Style is sustainability. And you know why? Because we've seen too much often how using terms like eco or sustainability were only another way to deliberate production of cheap products with the only effect of creating other waste. So Venet Waste liked to act, and she liked to act in two main ways. The first way is to communicate. Why is so important for Venet to communicate? Because she firmly believes that nowadays every project, every action, every profession must be considered first and foremost as a communication project. An epochal change is on the way. Oh, of course, it's arrived. Any product should be created to be a tool and the means to show how to implement this change. 2009 is the year of her blog. She writes about nature, art, style, but according to her vision. The second action of Venet is a project, is the Waste Couture project, which is born by a lot of questions and thoughts she made since the beginning. One of the first questions she made herself was really this one: how to make bioeconomy fashion along with the decrease? Then a lot of thoughts came. In the industrial era, products and companies are the fundamental aspects of our culture. We are merely all consumers and producers. This is the way humanity gives a meaning to its existence nowadays. In fashion, we had the whole 19th century to explore fashion design, and with incredible results. So the last question: in a global market full of products, which one is the reason why, as a fashion designer, I have to add a new product on it? And the answer was, the product has to be social aim, example, communication first. That's why Venet Waste in Action created Waste Couture Project, a new system to create products. So in a market full of products and beautiful products, design remains important, but can no longer take first place when we have to make another product. The reason why we create another product has to be linked to a social aim. That's why Venet Waste in Action has created the Waste Couture project. So are you a designer? Are you a brand? Are you a company, a manufacturer one or a textile one? So please take a step forward to become a closed cycle company. Use a system, the Waste Couture system. Waste Couture is a system to create a product. This system considers waste as a value. Waste for Waste Couture is not only proper production waste or what is produced with methods that don't respect the environment, but everything that due to the distorted action of the production chain is produced pointlessly because it never gets to live its first life cycle, the first one, not the second one. So there's a mark tied to this project. Take a step forward to become a closed cycle company. Use a mark, the Waste mark. Waste mark endorses and showcases fashion products which are born from the revaluation of resources that are carelessly discarded by our pervasive culture of waste. This affirms that nowadays the paradox of creating couture from waste is unavoidable. Waste Couture is a new system for creating products, a system that primarily uses waste as a resource. Nowadays, many products are called waste without actually being waste. In reality, they are only the result of a disturbed behavior, the lack of respect for the value of time. Wastemark certifies all fashion products made following the Waste Couture protocol. The designers and producers who have adopted it want to renew every aspect of their fashion chain, from the style office to production, from distribution to communication. Wastemark targets a system, the closed cycle system. So let's see now this logo. Isn't it curious? It's a crown with glasses. And why? The crown is the material. Everything is tangible. The Venet glasses represent the material, the vision, intangible culture, knowledge, and spirituality. Using waste, you can make a balance between material and immaterial, because at the moment, we can say that we live in a society where material value is crucially overestimated. How does Waste Couture counter that? Waste Couture wants to show how creating a product without adding more waste is possible by using everything that has already been created and has also never had the chance to be used before. Time's value. In the net world, respect is the main ingredient to make beauty possible. The respect of the value of time is definitely the most important one. Let's see why. How we see in this graphic, the shorter the product life cycle, the higher the value of the waste. The longer the product life cycles, the lower the waste level. Value of the time is strictly connected to the value of the waste in an inversely proportional way. And now we can say that fashion is not living in an old period when it's founded on short production cycles, scheduled obsolescence, and pushes everybody to have always a new garment in the wardrobe. So we should really stop. Don't waste. Waste creates damages, damage to life, because it's turning away life from people, damage to nature, because it's turning away nature from its balance, damage to economy, because it's turning away economy from its original meanings. So using waste means bringing back economy to its original meaning. In an healthy economy, there's nothing to recycle because everything has the right
There is some lagging. Oh, unfortunately, I'm afraid we somehow lost Rosanna. Hi, Rosanna, are you there? Yeah.
I'm here. Okay,
Yes,
I
we
go
can
on.
hear you. Okay. Shortly,
Yes,
you
I
are
can.
at your time, but I think you have 2 or 3 slides more.
Yes.
Just
In a healthy
disappear.
economy, there is nothing to recycle because everything has the right and the longest life
We
cycle.
can't see your,
Whatever remains.
no, we can't see your slides.
Ah, okay. So
But
1
slowly
second.
try to reach the end, please.
Hmm. Okay.
It's
Can you
okay.
see it?
Yeah. Slowly, yes.
Perfect.
It comes.
So
Yeah.
in a healthy economy, there is nothing
Please
to
speed up a little bit, please.
recycle. Sorry?
I just would like kindly ask you to speed
I
up
didn't
a little bit.
understand.
I just
Okay,
would
okay,
like to
don't
kindly
worry.
ask you to
I
speed
go
up a
on.
bit.
So
Okay.
let's go to the waste mark. Waste mark, so is a mark to recognize the product that are made on this new chain. You consider the value of the time. So we see there are some labels tied to it, that of course are made for products. Now, so there are two levels of certification. The first level is made by this labeling, which are 100% for second fabrics, for second materials, and for second yarns. For waste couture is the project that at the first level reforms the value of all the fashion production, even those of textile materials or yarns, that due to the contraction of production cycles, despite being perfect, remain for second in the warehouse of companies. The companies engaging with waste couture to relaunch their for second fabrics, materials or yarns, and the designer who commit themselves to using them, giving them the possibility of the first life cycle, we use the label waste mark 100% for second fabrics, materials or yarns to communicate that their products were made using those fabrics or materials or yarns. You can find this specification for these labels on our website, wastemark.it. The other level of certification is for another label, which is 100% zero waste, and explain how Waste Couture is the project which organizes a production chain made up of companies and brands that are committed to the development of the products, for the process specification, for style, production, distribution, and communication. And we have two protocols for part one, which is dedicated to manufacturing companies, brands, style and product departments, and protocol part two for textile companies and technological processes companies. These protocols are available only on request. So Waste Couture is very important because really create a virtuous closed cycle example. So companies that medium to long term will transform their processes in the direction of the responsible production cycle defined by the Waste Couture protocol, which progressively affect work processes involving style, production, distribution, and communication. The companies that decide to move in this direction use the waste mark to communicate that their company has started the transformation process that determines the closed cycle of all their production processes. So, of course, we don't have time now to go through the protocol, okay? But for we can have some ask for every aspect of the chain that now we don't have to go time to go through. But the important thing then is that you can know about the protocol, take contact with us through, write to us to info@wastecouture.com, and we are organizing web meeting to go deeper in protocol to speak about details, because we are going to organize a focus group soon to start with this certification. And it's important because, you know, we have observed that the value of waste affects the price of clothing from 50% to 70%. By applying the Waste Couture method, we obtain the fair price, the price that exactly corresponds to the real value of that garment. By doing this, it will no longer be necessary to relocate production to offer a competitive price, even more now that we can't travel too much anymore in this new situation with the coronavirus. So please help us, and we would like to broaden the network with every one of you, because we create system only if we create a network, if we really share this new way, this circular economy. So environmental sustainability is the practice that takes place if you have the ability to use common sense. The first kind, an elegant gesture that each one of us can perform anytime is don't waste. Use first was already been produced and was miserably set aside because it was considered by somebody else waste without being waste at all. And now I finish my presentation reading this quote from the book by Paul Oken, Blessed Unrest, which I really love. There are ended games and endless games. Ended games are based on competition and victory. In the endless games, you play for the sake of the game. Ensuring the future of life on Earth, sustainability is an endless game, an unending expression of generosity made on behalf of everyone. Let's take the responsibility of ended games of the world, not to win, but to turn them into endless games. And you, which game you care to make endless? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Первый, ты их можешь
You are
оторвать потом
muted, you can clapping.
сейчас.
De egyébként ott rontották el a buzik, hogy vittük ilyen oktatásra a normafához.
Thank you.
És ott olyan rohadt fáj volt a gyerekeknek, én nem tudom, helyhiány, hogy rohadt.
Thank you very much for your valuable presentation, and let us learn about the waste culture. Our next speaker actually is not alone. Welcome, Mr. Vittorio Giomo in the conference, and he is with Ornella Bignami, and Vittorio is the chief advisor of the Global Sustainable Fashion Week, and the floor is yours. Thank you. We can see that. Mr. Giomo, we would like to hear you as well. Please try to enlarge it.
Vittorio non parla.
Okay.
We can hear you. Vittorio
Okay.
parla.
No, I suppose that you manage my my speaker. You see the full screen, okay?
Yeah, we see.
I see. The book we speak before about that. We take the decision with Ornella invited me to write a book. It's not really a book, it's an handbook that you can take in your pocket, you designer, marketing manager, industries, to have all the elements that concur to achieve sustainability in the path from the original materials, from the vision, original materials, and then distribution. We have some example and we go forward. This is a foreword. It's done by Stella McCartney. It is recognized as the together, of course, the ambientalism designer, Vivienne Westwood. She came after, and she dedicated all this career to become one of the most sustainable example fashion top designers. And I move now on the right side. You see Phil Pucci, of course. The book needed to be published to have some support from the people that believe in the project and give the opportunity to do the book. In the side where you see my here, the green book, this is all the items that we have to, there are many items, but we go very fast because it's maybe too much. Now, you see one of the most strong and sustainable actors of the textile top level fabrics in Italy, Reda, that is your future, is your present, is really very, very strong. The people you see in advertising are a selection, a curated selection from Ornella and me to give to you, to give in the book the best of Italian producer sustainable fabrics. On the left side, you see Canclini, top level in shirting, and in the right side, this is an old things, but it remain very interesting, in which sustainability is together with social, lifestyle, equity, economical, and ambiental issue. Because in which we believe that is a big S in the future of textile, in the global world. The sustainability now is revealed. Many companies, maybe more than 50% of the important companies around the world, in Italy particularly, maybe in Italy we are reached the 65, 70, are in the track, in this world. The reference, sorry, I'll take only this. You see here the sustainable development goals built in 2015 in Paris. And this is the Bible, if you want, to achieve sustainability, as the clever Hungarian guys say to us, is not only climate action. Action for climate is just the 13th point of this panorama, on this vision given by United Nations to achieve the definition of sustainability that remains the same from the 1987, in which anything we do, we have to take care about the future generation. Anything we have to do, this was many years ago, have to don't impact nature in terms of destroy the future of our followers. And you see poverty, zero hunger, good development. All these elements are to manage to become sustainable, and maybe in the next, I suppose, 10 years minimum, or something more. Now, I think that is the time of Ornella to...
Yes. And talking about circular economy, we have heard already from Rossana Diana a very interesting proposal about how to use waste, which is not waste, not always. And this is one direction, but circular economy has a different point of view. One which is very, very important to most of the Italian textile companies is about traceability, being able to really trace the origin of the fiber, all the processes to develop both the fiber and the yarns and the woven fabrics until the final garment is done. And therefore, we are talking a lot also about recycling. Recycling in the sense of giving a new life to fibers which have been used or produced and not yet used from pre-consumer consumption, by mixing them with other fiber to make them very interesting and new, like the Refibra from Lansing, combining pre-consumer waste cotton with tensile viscose. And the aiming is to have products which have a high value, not really recycling with a poor look, with a poor quality, but reusing, recycling with high value. Next page. Next page, Vittorio. Okay, and one example which is also very, very interesting, you have here from the Filpucci with the Riverso project, is a system of recollecting cashmere garments which have been already used, and you know, they might have some peeling and so on, so they can be given back to the spinning company. It is recycled or regenerated, is the better word to say, to get again cashmere fiber, which can be transformed again in a beautiful yarn for new styles and new sweaters, and have a second life of very high level. The same is done by other companies like Finori, for instance, for denim. It's already more than 10 years that this company recycles denim fabrics to make fiber, you see from the image, and making yarns to make sweaters. So from woven jeans to knitted garments of very, very good quality. Of course, is a limitation in the colors, the range of blue, the grays, and the black, and maybe some natural whites or washed whites. It's restricted the color range, but since 10 years, always very successful. Next page. And yeah, I think that these are just a few examples, and going on, we will see other opportunities. It's you, Vittorio. Look at that, Vittorio.
I close my, I mute my, because it's better when you speak. What is a very important issue is take care about the influencer in the years. Unfortunately, the book is only in Italian language, but we hope in the not future, maybe not, we don't know exactly when, we can have the English version of the book, or maybe both the language each other in the front of page. Influencers for us are very important people in the years, because from designer that had the vision, we have company born when very disaster happened in the years in Bangladesh, from the you know, fashion revolution. Our president Gabi Valek represents fashion revolution in Hungary, and they did enormous work to improve a global sustainability among all the industries around the world. Partly for the ocean, they tried, you know, maybe partly, they try to recover recycling. They work with Adidas. The nets of fish come from the sea, and putting on the technology, and Adidas did a collection of shoes and accessories. And another one, you see Stella McCartney that gives our forward. And why not Greta Thunberg? Because maybe a lot of people discuss her role. But in fact, after Greta, we see a lot of things happen. And now Ornella return on
sustainable fibers. Yes, in textile and fashion, we have to look for sustainability along the wool pipeline, starting from the fibers, the raw materials, which have to be produced with new processes. By looking at the latest fabric and yarn collections, we can find out that many companies have been really looking for natural fibers. And when I say natural fibers, I can say that linen and hemp are very much on demand. They are really the green fibers. They don't need irrigation. They don't need chemical type of treatments to be transformed into fiber and yarns and fabrics. And they have a range of very positive characteristics, antibacterial, and so on, which make these two materials very, very interesting. The next one is, of course, organic cotton. And there is a lot of talking also again about wool, which seemed to be not so interesting in the beginning, but it's renewable. It's biodegradable, and especially when used in interesting developments for the sportswear or a street style, and not only the super fine fibers, but also more basic type of wool qualities. It has a very interesting new use. And
I'm sorry, but it is my unpleasant duty to warn the speakers to keep the time limit. So sorry, but please try to accelerate a little bit your
okay, we go.
Okay. And other materials which are also very important is viscose, because there is a lot of talking about silk or viscose, and it's quite interesting to see if we confront the two materials that the real silk, you can only produce a very thin filament for 1,000 meters, whilst with a modern production system in viscose, you can have an infinite production. There are so many new fibers coming into the market today, and I think that in Italy we have some of the most interesting companies, like Radici Group, for instance, producing special recycled nylon, Aquafil recycling fish nets from the oceans. And these materials have already been transformed into final products by Prada with Econil bags, for instance. And I could make a long list, but I know we are short in time, and I think that we might be able to share the book with you online, and even if it's only written in Italian, maybe you can recognize the names of the products and the brands.
Now yarns.
Yes, the yarns is also the same concept. Most of the spinners have been working on natural materials and natural blends, but which is also very important, they take care of the whole process. Most of the companies, you can see the names in the different pages, have invested in machinery as well, not only in the fiber, not only in the production, but buy new machine to spare energy, to spare water, to be sure that the whole production is safe, not using chemicals and so on.
Okay, now fabrics. Fabrics are originated from the previous speech from Ornella, and we have all the brands, Italian brands, that in different modality are considered in the top of the way of sustainability, using tencel, for example, Egyptian cotton produced in agro-controlled field. Marzotto Group spend a lot of his work with linen, wool, and have a lot of GOTS certification, REDA, we speak about REDA before. The Biella producer sometimes own or are in a strictly connection with the people that have sheep, and they control the life cycle of the animals too. The others are other people that do printing with the most advanced technology, like Legiuno, and Can Clean is another shirt maker that, as you know, Italy have the privilege to be the first in the world as shirt fabrics for the fabric for shirting. And Candiani is very strong in denim. Is together with Berto, we have two denim industry, only two very big, that are totally sustainable addiction. And Lanificio Europa 2 in Prato. Prato is a place where it's very strong. And Borghi is a part of the big company, and they adopt, and they, I think that maybe is certified by the Rossana. I'm not very sure, because they told me they give fabrics to clever people to distribute. Ratti is one of biggest, strong example, and together with Eurojersey of Italian sustainability way. The others are other. We move straight to certification. We are in the half of our presentation, but we move very, very quickly because you know all the process. We believe in the fact that certification is very important, and welcome new certification as did Rossana, of course, the new things. This is the most noted in the world. That is very important too, FSC. That now I give the word to Ornella. You can speak about design and producing.
Yes, I just wanted to enhance the fact that all the companies we have interviewed and we have been in contact with, just talking about their products and so on, they have stressed the fact that they are all involved in sustainability. They are all involved in ameliorating their production. Sometimes they follow different directions, or they certificate differently their production according also to the countries where they sell most, or to the request of the brands they serve, international brands having their own concept and rules. So what I think is important to say is that this movement to sustainability, recycling, circular economy is really impacting all the whole textile pipeline. But unfortunately, there is not just one direction where we can compare the quality of one company with the quality of another company, or the level of sustainability, let's say, of one company or another, because the elements of certification are very often quite different. This is maybe the negative point at the moment, hoping that there will be maybe in the future a more regular law or indication, so that we can really have a balance and know exactly where the different companies are placed. As far as the fashion, we all know, I don't need to go into the detail, but we all know that big brands, Gucci, Armani, Prada, they are really involved very much in the sustainable direction. Very interesting is the fact that more and more younger designer start really being known on the market. We have here Eco Alpha, Riash, Rad, and Flavia La Rocca, and Tiziano Guardini, who is one of the designers in Italy, very interesting and working. He has put together a group of companies working with him in terms of supplying materials, which are absolutely sustainable and traceable, so he's one of the leading brands on the Italian market in the moment. And of course, we have already been talking about Stella McCartney. She started in the year 2000, promoting this new approach to fashion. And of course, she is a leader, and she opened the idea of the green carpet, which was promoted by the Camera Nazionale della Moda Italiana in Italy, with the big events which have the objective of communicating to normal consumers what's happening. This is a very important point, communication. We still don't have enough, and sometimes it's also not coherent, I must say. But it's very important that the consumers understand the quality of the material and the quality of the fabrics and the final products, of course. Yeah.
Now you have a short description about Bayer Camera of Italy, where they introduced the concept of fashion for planet. That you see on the left side, all these people are own or part of the top shop in Italy, multi-brand, in which they believe that it's possible to have enlarged a research on fashion designer, sustainable fashion design. That is probably, we want to do with Ornella going deeper in this concept, because this is a great opportunity for the new designer, for the startups in sustainability, to impact with the responsible of the buy office of this important shop. Now, return Ornella with home.
Very quickly, we have also very interesting developments in terms of home.
I'm terribly sorry to warn you again.
Okay.
Please,
Okay.
you have 1 minute to summarize your presentation. Please.
Just the last few pages, sorry.
In order for the other speakers, we have to follow.
Absolutely. I go in the end of the, you see very quickly the book, you see Westermark was in our book, because I believe the importance with the Iris van Herpen, because she believes in sustainability. I think they're very modern. And we have to speak about textile fair that believe in that, Milano Unica and Premier Vision, together with Filo, Pitti Filati, Copenhagen Fashion Summit, Neonit, and Global Sustainable Fashion Week is in the book. With not great description, but you are okay. VSM Fashion Reboot is a new issue Italian, and then in which is only sustainable people there. And there is a culture of sustainability. We see Fashion from Nature in V&A, and Ferragamo in the museum. And people that work for sustainability in Italy is Class. Luca, I don't know if coming today, but is Blue Mine and Sistema Moda Italia. And sustainability is beauty. This is very important concept. Now, Ornella closed the speech with the glossary.
Yes, we have a new vocabulary, which is becoming very important, and we thought that it would be very helpful for people to have the explanation, the clear explanation of what these words mean. So it's always very well accepted, because sometimes the concepts are not so clear. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we are over there. You can see us. Thank you very much for listening us. We hope to propose. Okay.
Thank you very much. For clapping.
Hello.
Hello. Jó, most voltak benne a gyerekek, levegőznek.
Nem
And sorry for running with the time, but we have a lot of speakers, and I just would like to introduce you Zuzana Kralova, who is a designer, fashion accessories and footwear sustainability and technology consultant, and we know each other. If I can say some personal, we know each other quite well because we work together in the Words project, which I would like to recommend to everyone because it's exciting technology and fashion project. And Susanna is the winner of the project, and she is just finishing her amazing job, fish. Susanna, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, good morning to everybody. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes, everyone.
Okay. Great. Well, I will not share any presentation. I think that I will be so short and try to make my speech and vision in 10-15 minutes, you know, to
10, please.
Give a place and time. So I would like to speak today about the sustainable supply chain management, which is something that I am missing a lot of information about. So I have made a lot of research about that, and I think that it's quite a new must-have in the fashion. You know, this sustainable supply chain, which is from the sourcing of the materials or apparel until the final product. As I think that everybody knows, the fashion industry is one of the largest polluting in the world, and only one cotton t-shirt takes almost 3,000 liters of water. So this is something like terrifying, right? And into sustainability in the last years, the fact is that only 1% of new products launched in online shops were tagged sustainable. So this is also like, for me, quite worrying part, right? But the fashion still is like our chosen skin. So why we are not acting more? Well, there are a lot of facts. I think that other speakers already told about the Parley, about EcoAlf and all these initiatives. In France, France is like in circular economy, right? And in 2021, they will put very interesting circular economy law in the process. So they will prohibit clothing companies from destroying overstock. So I think that right now the sustainability is much more talking about the waste, how to manage the waste, than making the garment from the natural resources. I will talk a bit later. Well, the sustainability as a topic for me always, and I think for people, is something really tricky. And sustainability, like sustainable fashion, is there is like missing. I am missing the common language, and sometimes I think that the consumers, they are also demanding more communication, more and better communication from the fashion companies themselves, right? There are a lot of like articles, maybe in general interested magazines about what is sustainable fashion, but this is about only materials. They are not explaining a whole tracing of the from the yarn, from the fiber till the spinning and weaving, etc., etc. So there is a lack of information about sustainable fashion in general. I think that the company wants to make more, the consumer to give more information, but still they don't know how, right? I think that Lucas and more speakers already talked about that there are like 5 pillars in sustainable fashion, starting from the environmental sustainability. That's the point 1. But the second is the social responsibility. So I think that we are in the time to think about the society and the impact of the fashion industry on it. Then, of course, there is the resource efficiency, particularly in water. I think other speakers already told about this problem of water. Then the transparency, it's calling like with the big sign, transparency and traceability, and of course sustainable materials. But what I want to like remark is that the sustainable fashion is not only about the material, about the sustainable material, but whole the traceability and whole the process. Okay, so well, starting from the sustainable sourcing, where everything starts, there are a lot of companies that want to put in their agenda the social and environmental issues, but still is something they don't know how to do it. But the interesting thing about the consumers is that this generation Z, which is the new generation, like after millennials, they found the hashtag sustainable fashion over 6 million times. So that's something that this fact that the young people and the new generation are interested in sustainable fashion is there. So we need to focus how to handle it and how to communicate sustainable fashion and create this common language, which is still missing, right? Researching quite a lot about this sourcing that worried me also in my project Fish Fig of the Wharf was how to sample all this chain, which is very complex, and the traditional chain is very complex. Shipping, sampling, the transparency, etc., etc. So I have found very interesting fact that they are like researchers that think that by 2025 they will be like virtual sampling, and I think it will be fact, you know, because by virtual sampling you reduced all these shipping costs, all these stuff. So these 3D programs the designer already knows. There are a lot of designers very well prepared. So with this virtual sampling, we reduce a lot also this carbon footprint. You know, I have been talking before about this waste. I think that the recycled fiber content will be something like very important, much more than natural resources that they are like quite over, because the humankind exploit everything in excess. So we need to start to think about how to process this waste. So I think that we are now in the epoch or in era of waste management, how to recycle the fabrics, how to make the recycled contents, for example, from biomass. This is a very interesting issue also. Well, some brands are doing some things like initiatives, for example, like accepting the old products, you know, but still maybe this is not enough. Like the chain HM, they are making this movement which is called swapping, that you take your old clothes and then you have got discount on all this stuff. There's also movement called swapping, which is exchanging of the garments. This is quite okay also. And well, like very old movement, second-hand shops. This is still okay, but we need to, as I said before, start to make new recycled fibers. About the sustainable materials, there are a lot of obstacles still, you know, and one of those obstacles is availability, cost and quality, because a lot of people and brands are worried about the quality, the resistance, durability, etc., etc. They still don't trust that the recycled material can be same quality as the petroleum-based material, right? So this thing about price is curious for me, because I have found a lot of things, a lot of reaction with my suppliers, that they told me that the recycled material sometimes is much cheaper, not the reverse side, you know. This is also like quite marketing strategy. I think that a lot of brands and fashion companies sell these recycled fibers like something still special or not available on the market. So this is also tricky thing, because of course I think like entrepreneur that the price range should be like the same range like the common materials we are already using on the market. I think that the other speakers also have been talking about this closed loop and circular economy, but still is something that for me is a far dream, something that I think that maybe in 1 decade we can be able like start this circular economy thing. Well, just my opinion, because this waste we have got in the planet Earth, we have to manage to recycle it. Well, will be quite short to give the opportunity to more speakers, but the last thing I want to mention is our suppliers. I think it's very important to find the right partner in crime, and I say partner because we need to change the mindset, our mindset from the relationship between the brands and designer and supplier. It's not a relationship. It should not be like one transaction on season by season transaction only one time, but we should build like long-term partnership more than a relationship. So this is also like one of the obstacles still, that a lot of people goes to interest and they are not sharing with their suppliers their marketing strategies, or maybe they don't share whole project, they don't get involved. So there is also a low commitment. You know, I always try with my suppliers to emphasize in the project, explain a lot that they really feel like part of the project, not that they are just producing or that, but they feel like they are building something bigger. And well, about us designers, I think that we can change the world. Maybe it's quite radical, but I think that the way we design, way we approach our work with the responsibility and with all these focus on the materials, we cannot do more these things like collection from the materials we don't know the origin, etc., etc. So I think that the role of the designer right now in 2020 is very important, and the responsibility is immense. So thank you so much. I mean, I think very short, and well, if you have any questions about my thinking and maybe radicalism, I would like.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to suggest to everyone, because we are running with the time, that the Q&A session could be held on the chat panel. This is an online meeting, and I see everyone can use that very creative way. But of course, there will be some time to have questions. Thank you very much, Zuzana, again for your contribution. And let me introduce our next speaker is Misha Orzan and Olga Johnson-Antonova.
Yeah. Michaela is not here yet.
No, I can talk now. So Michele has not arrived, so I'm awfully sorry. But Sylvia Herod is here. So
I'm sorry that she is coming. Yeah, I was wrong.
He's so kind to have this lecture. Unfortunately, we are running out of the time, but Mia has a wonderful work, and I think it is worthwhile to hear and see her short presentation now.
I kindly ask you
to keep
the oral as short as possible.
Hello everyone. I'm going to keep this quick. So basically, I'm going to switch cameras. Just wait. Can you see me now? Right. So, hello, I'm Mia. And I'm basically the owner of Mia Sylvia, which is a brand specialising in bridal wear and workshops and sustainable textiles that have been hand dyed. So, can everyone see me? I don't know if I can.
We can see
go
you,
into
but
the
voice is the.
Yeah, can everyone see me?
So yeah, you are on the phone.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, I'm on my phone now. So basically the reason why I've gone onto my phone is because instead of doing a presentation, I'm actually going to do a studio tour. So I'm going to show you around my process, just show you a few materials that I use and all the dresses that are involved. So what we'll start with is, if I switch the camera, I basically specialise in natural dyes. So all the processes range from using ingredients such as lemons, we've got onion skins. I use a lot of flowers as well. So everything in the process has been hand foraged, hand grown, either in the garden or donated by friends. I've got different materials that we use. So here we have some avocado skins. We use the avocado skins to dye certain colours, and this is the pink that we get, which is from the avocado pit, which is just utter magic. And what we've got here is a bit of turmeric dye. So basically I use a lot of herbs and I grow the herbs, and the turmeric is all organic and is sourced from a local supplier. This obviously brings a beautiful sort of yellow colour. Here are some of the ingredients that is used in the studio. It's where all the magic happens. So we've got some avocado skins and different flowers and herbs that are used. I'll just come over here and show you a selection of protest banners that we've been using. If you've heard of Extinction Rebellion, there's quite a big movement in London, and we were making some protest banners to be used for each one. All the fabrics that we use in the studio are all certified organic from a trusted supplier which is based in the UK, but they have all of their supplies which are in India, so it's all organic cottons. We also have a large selection of different ribbons that are used. So within the bridal industry, ribbons are used really commonly for florals, for all different types, like bouquets, in the hair, style in the hair. But the thing with silk is that, I'm sure a lot of you know, it's not vegan and it's not sustainably sourced. So I went on a hunt to find different suppliers, and this is pea silk. So it's a blend of silk bamboo, and the reason why it's pea silk is because the way that it's harvested, they don't actually boil the poor little silkworms alive. They're actually allowed to roam free, and they're allowed to live their lives, and then they just collect the bits of silk like after them. What else? So we also have up here, this is where all the magic happens. So this is a selection of all different fabrics which are ready to be pre-mordanted. So there's a process that goes behind each fabric for it to be coloured. And before that, you have to wash the fibres, because when they're made in the factories, they're covered in small little fibres and bits of wax, which makes the fabrics quite dirty, and the natural dyes don't actually stick to the fabrics. So this is a pile which is ready to be washed, and then it's going to be pre-mordanted. You can use different things like soya milk. I use alum, which is like a rock salt, and it's all natural and it's all harvested organically. So because I'm based in the wedding industry, the things that you're going to see on the top half of the shelf are a range of our napkins, our table runners, and in the wedding industry, it is the most wasteful industry, as well as, you know, fashion and textiles. The wedding industry is so much just for one day. Basically, you know, people will get married, they'll buy everything, and then they'll just throw it all away, even down to the dress. So every woman gets, you know, a dress. It's meant to be the nicest thing of their entire life. They wear it for one day, and then that dress is unfortunately popped into a cupboard, it's never seen again, and you know, you hold fond memories of it, but people don't really think of the gravity of how much goes involved into making a wedding dress, and the fabrics that are sourced, and the waste that goes into every process in a wedding is just, it's very sad. So with me and Sylvia, we're planning, like, our mission is to make each step of a wedding more sustainable and more feasible for people. You know, sustainability doesn't have to be a luxury. So basically what we do here, I'll show you around. Here is a range of the dresses that we have. So each and every dress is hand sourced from charity shops and donated. I've had a lot of dresses that have actually been donated by lovely brides, because they want their dresses to have a new lease of life, and they don't want them sitting in a cupboard. So for instance, here's a dress which has recently been transformed. And the reason how we get all these colours from the natural dyes, you'll see here a little set. So a process that we use, which is rust dyeing, and I source all of the tools. I've got a massive bucket outside, but I just thought I'd show you some of the ones that we have here. I get all the tools from barbers. A lot of them are actually from and scrapyards, so everything has a complete closed loop system from the moment the idea is generated. So the moment this dress was even thought about, it was found in a charity shop, it's been prepped by me, it's been pre-mordanted so the fabric's ready for the colour, and it's been hand dyed with the rusted tools. And what makes the process even more beautiful is with rust dyeing, it's between 2 weeks to 2 months to dye. So the beauty of it is the longer you leave the tools, the more beautiful the colour's going to be. And you see these little blue polka dots, they're actually from coins and bits of money. Some of the other dresses that we have in here have been dyed with turmeric, onion skins, flowers, and you can see on some of them we've got little pictures here, so you can see what the dresses look like on the models. And we recently had a photo shoot where we decided to celebrate all that is good within the weddings, and you know, how you can make a dress a lot more beautiful. Yeah, so that is a bit about me and what I do, and we're on a mission to make sure that weddings can be elegant, can be beautiful, but can also be sustainable. That's what we want. You know, that's why we're all here. It's why we're all part of this chat. You know, we all want to make a difference, but we also want it to be beautiful. And I think that's really important with weddings. You know, people want it to be special. They want it to be a one-off, but to have that extra edge and for it to be sustainable as well is really, really important. Yeah, I was just gonna say, if anyone's got any questions, obviously pop it on the chat. Made it nice and quick so other people can join on. I'm gonna put on my website and Instagram as well on the chat. So if any of you want to privately message me, you're more than welcome to. All right.
Tartsd bele tanítani!
Nem, azt egybe az egészről. Egyben.
Time.
No sound at all.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just I just forgot to unmute myself. So I would like to recommend your presentation, Olga Johnson's presentation, who is a sustainability expert, educator, journalist, fashion and lifestyle. And after her presentation, I will share with you 2 links for 2 presentations. One will be in Hungarian and the other will be in English at the chat panel. Thank you very much, Olga. The floor is yours.
Thank
the
you.
screen is yours, actually.
Wonderful. This is my space now. So yes, inviting everybody back to our space that we have all created. So greetings to everybody. Nice to see you. My presentation, by the way, that is coming up is just a greeting, really, that was meant to greet everybody, because for this year, myself and forgive me if I repeat myself when you're watching the presentation. For this year, the idea was to show, to introduce an educational section at the Global Sustainable Fashion Week, and we can all then discuss it and make that happen for the next year. I think it will be wonderful to have that addition well developed and allow students to join in, people who are studying, learning, and that's where exactly we can share the knowledge that we are now exchanging here with the upcoming, with the young generation. So it has not happened. That was there was a lot of work done. The idea came, myself and another sustainable designer, Julia Müller, who is now present. I can see her in the among the participants. She and myself designed a workshop and a lecture, and Gabi and her team also added lectures. But I think next year we have a good chance to have a good, solid educational part. So that's one kind of new development to expect. Another thing I wanted to say, yes, we'll slowly go into my video. I will not say much because I will otherwise probably repeat myself. I wanted to make a point, and this is actually in my video as well, that at the moment we are really in the times of overwhelm of information. Yeah, and we're creating information, and it is all wonderful, it is all needed, but it really is also not to forget that silence is important, that it is in silence that we have a moment to arrive at the wisdom, to get clear, in order to move forward with ideas. So I suppose when I already sense that when I have recorded my greeting, and you will hear that. So in a way, I invite you to that silence and to use that moment to come up with things that will bring us forward. And because after the presentation, okay, I'll probably say again hello and goodbye, but also my suggestion for the organizers, who I want to thank profoundly in these difficult circumstances. Fantastic job, Gabi and the team. I also want to suggest for all of us, the Sustainable Fashion family, to have an after party, okay, not today, maybe next week, not only just to say, to find the conclusions, to make conclusions and stuff that is important. Let's make it in a humane, wonderful after party kind of way, where we can all get together like this, chat, have a drink and mingle. Okay, so now this is my contribution. Yeah, I'm glad. And for now, let me try to share the screen. And also while I'm sharing the screen and learning all these technical things, I know, it's here. I know I have issues with technical skills that I couldn't put the subtitles. It took me so long. So I know how I can spend my time in quarantine when other jobs are done. So
the lower menu, the screen sharing, yes.
Yeah, this I know, but
no.
Thank you.
Jó, tudom.
Dear friends, dear participants and audience of the Global Sustainable Fashion Week in its 5th edition, we are experiencing something new, difficult, beautiful.
That you would.
As a result of this test, we're going to come out stronger on the other side. We don't have to explain what sustainability is to wider audiences. People are going to learn fast. We're going to do very well in building up a new fashion system. It will be the fashion system that we have envisaged, that we have spoken about. The world that is going to come out on the other side will need more beauty.
Attól még nem lesz hangosabb a felvétel.
Fashion industry,
Én tudom.
fashion designers are well placed to provide that. Fashion, again, will be in demand, but it will be conscious demand. Demand for beautifully made things that contain soul. And all of us know very well that this is possible. If you don't know me, and if I don't manage to put the subtitles, my name is Olga Johnston Antonova. I am speaking to you from Berlin. This year, the plan was that myself and Julia Müller, the brand owner and designer of a brand Anna Maria Angelica, who also lives in Berlin, we were going to start an educational section at the Global Sustainable Fashion Week. This will not happen this year, but we are not upset. We are optimistic. Next year, we will have a chance to deliver a new level of information. It may not be called any longer the ABC of sustainable fashion as it was planned. It will probably be a much deeper conversation with the students that we hope to attract as well to our Global Sustainable Fashion Week, and to give them a chance to learn about sustainable fashion, to do the workshops, and to have fun with fashion, to try the sustainable fashion, to try to make it, to experience it, and of course to implement it. And this time, next year, I'm sure it will be perfect timing to do that. On a good part, I would also like to say that as I am also working a lot in Russia, we have started a lot of online programs, and I conduct many get-togethers from here, from my home, online, and from the response and reaction and understanding that I see from the Russian designers and people working in other parts of the fashion services and fashion production and fashion retail in my home country, it's being reassessed and gaining a new momentum. So I can see how the whole world is going to wake up and how this difficulty is going to help it and to help us. And we will to help the world again, bringing the ecological thinking forward through fashion. So I miss you all. I am grateful that we can still do it and connect. And I'm very grateful for the lot of work that was done in order to enable this. And I'm so much looking forward to seeing you all in person to have a chat, to hug you, and to have a laugh together. So thank you. Let's make it a beautiful experience from here on. Have a wonderful week, all of us, and those especially who present and those who attend. Thank you very much. I will offer another sound from this singing bowl to close off. And this is for all of us, for the world, to stay well, to stay healthy, and to create space of love, understanding, and beauty. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I didn't edit when it just came out like this. I thought, oh, it's good. It's good. So yeah, thank you, everybody. So now the mood should be the after party, I suppose. From now on is only up. Yeah. And so I pass back my the floor to the.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just would like to recommend you to share the link of the video on the chat panel. You can open the chat panel if you are going to the lower menu. Okay. You can share the video there. You can share the link there, and everyone can download it. And I just would like to mention, everyone can save the chat panel if you want.
Regarding my video, it's only on a Facebook groups now. If it helps, but who
you can
wants
put
it?
the link.
Yeah, I'll put the link.
Yeah. Anyway, it was possible to hear it quite well. So thank you very much. This is the end of the first session of the fifth global Sustainable Fashion Week. And then I just would like to share 2 videos with you in the chat panel. And you can copy the link and you can watch the video during the lunch break, which will last by 2 o'clock. And the second round starts with the 2 o'clock, and the host of the second round will be Muhammad Fawad Nouri, who is here. Please, the floor is yours if you want to invite the others to the afternoon meeting.
Fawad, are you here?
Hi, everybody. It's really nice presentation from everybody, and it's good to see. And thanks, Olga, for your very nice message. And its session was excellent. And looking forward for our second round after the lunch break. I hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, I'm also wearing this. Yeah, that's the trademark of Global Sustainable Fashion Week. Yeah?
Thank you, Fawad.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fawad. And Gabi?
First of all, I would like to thank you for the very good moderation, because some of us are not very
technically, not everybody.
Yes. So we really needed
to be
your
frank,
help.
we are also not.
Yes, we learn it, and you are a very good teacher. So János, thanks a lot for your help.
It was my great pleasure to be here.
And thanks for all the very valuable lectures. And we continue the discussion, and also we have very good lecturers in the afternoon too, in the session second. So 2 o'clock
Central
European time, we can meet, and also the overseas countries from South America, from some Asian countries can join us in the afternoon session. Thank you so much, and have a nice lunch or relaxation.
Bye for now.
Everyone can use the same link.
Yes, the same link.
The same link.
The same link.
We have the same link.
It was nice to meet you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Visszaadtam a hostjogokat.
Köszönjük.
Köszi, sziasztok.
Köszönjük, János. Akarsz kimásolni?